will you accept the results of the election? That is the shibboleth that they ask, right? Because, if you say no, or you don't say yes quickly enough, you're the worst dystophobe in history, because the underlying assumption, and you know all this, the underlying assumption is, of course, that if you have any questions about what happened in 2020, which, as we all know, was the fairest election since a caveman first asked for a show of hands, then you are the problem. Never mind the fact that Joe Biden got north of 81 million votes. He got 12 million votes more than Barack Obama on his best day, because everybody loves Joe Biden, right? The enthusiasm. And you go, oh, no, it wasn't that. It wasn't that. It was because everybody hates Donald Trump so much. Well, okay. Take the names out of it for a second. Take the incredibly popular and beloved Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., bane of corn pop. Take him out of the equation. Take Donald Trump out of the equation. And let me say to you that a Democrat candidate for president loses Florida by 4 points. He loses Ohio by 8 points. But somehow this Democrat wins Georgia, where he's behind by 750,000 votes in Pennsylvania, as Biden was, about 2 in the morning on election night. And then everyone closes everything down because a pipe burst in Atlanta, and you have no choice but to shut everything down at that point. And when we wake up, turns out, Mirabaloo Dictu, Biden has won just enough to win Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and Arizona and Michigan and Georgia by excruciatingly close margins, just enough, sort of random looking numbers. Okay, I've said enough about it, because you all know that it's nonsense. I'll tell you one more thing. Let's say the Republican, nameless Republican, generic Republican, won 18 of 19 bellwether districts, increased his party's number of seats in the House of Representatives by, I think it was 16 by the time everything was counted, got the highest vote total, besides Biden's 81 million, that any candidate's ever received in history, became the only president in history to increase his vote total running for re-election and lose, since Grover Cleveland, the only other non-consecutive president in history. Take all that aside. And of course, it's all completely feasible. And only the worst sort of person has any questions about it. And I'm not even saying, I am saying. But the fact is, in today's day and age, every issue that comes up, the one explanation that has the most evidence and seems the most plausible is the one we're not allowed to discuss. There's someone named Mark Anderson, whom I don't even know. He said that in any organization, and I assume it goes for families as well, the biggest problem is the one you're not allowed to talk about. And there's a lot that we'll talk about in subsequent videos if both my viewers would like to hear me say more. But back to the question. In 2024, will you accept the results? Will you accept the results of the election? Here's what I think you say to that, regardless of whom you support. It's like if Dwight Schrute asks you if you will accept a super secret mission, you always say, absolutely I will. Here's why. Because I don't actually dispute that Joe Biden got 81 million votes. The only thing that's in question is how many people cast those votes. But that's part of the game, okay? Let me take it way back to before any of us was born. If I were alive and eligible in 1960, I like to think I would have voted for John F. Kennedy over Richard Milhous Nixon. What are you doing in there? Hey, get back here. Okay, I would have voted for JFK over Nixon, because even though we have a smaller sample size, John Kennedy was a better president than Richard Nixon any day of the week and twice on Sundays. Fight me. And I say that as a small government anti-communist guy, but I think Kennedy was such an effective president who saw the game for what it is, they took him out. Strong lecture to follow on that if both my viewers want to hear it. But having said that John Kennedy was the better choice in 1960 and that he is and was the better president than Richard Nixon, I also will admit that John Kennedy probably stole that election. He stole Illinois, I think, and he stole Texas, thanks to Lyndon Johnson. In Illinois, there's some estimates that say more people voted for JFK in the city of Chicago than were eligible to vote in the entire state of Illinois. But that's how the game works. I'll give you one more. We didn't have particularly strong choices in the year 2000 or in the year 2004. And it's a binary choice generally when you're voting for president. So we'd rather have George W. Bush or Al Gore. Well, it sucks, but I'll take Bush, right? Would you rather have George W. Bush or John Kerry? Bush. So, all that said, yeah, 2000 was contentious, but I think the case can at least be made that the voters of West Palm Beach County, at least in Florida, did get screwed. Gore might have got screwed in Florida. So it goes both ways. Both parties can get screwed, but having said that, by and large, it's easier to cheat and steal elections if you're a Democrat, okay? But as John Kennedy himself said, life isn't fair. It's just how it is. So Trump actually lost the election, in my view, and not because America chose somebody else. I don't think voting, if voting made any difference, they wouldn't let us do it. Was that Carlin? So he lost because he wasn't prepared. He wasn't prepared for what was going to happen. He didn't understand. He got rolled. He got rolled the entire year of 2020. And we all know what I'm talking about there. And he got rolled when it came to the election. He wants to just turn everything, the guy's hopelessly stuck in the 1990s, right? He wants to turn everything into an adorable, funny story starring himself, but he doesn't understand what the other side is actually up to. So when they wheeled out the pandemic in 2020 and they made all these insane ways to vote, and they shut down voting in the 6 states that Biden needed, Trump was completely unprepared because he doesn't understand the game. He doesn't understand the game because his boomer kung fu grip is so strong. He doesn't get it. So he lost. He lost not because America prefers Joe Biden. Nobody prefers Joe Biden to anything or anybody. The science is settled. He lost because he doesn't understand how to play the game now. Has he learned how to play the game, Trump? Has he learned? Well, Mike Johnson, the most recent Speaker of the House, was just down in Florida. And, okay, guys, can everyone keep together? And do you want to come up and say hi? So Mike Johnson was down in Florida. And they were going to have a big, not big, but like a joint press conference. Donald Trump and Speaker of the House Mike Johnson to talk about something. And I watched it just because, try to keep au courant. And what did they come out and talk about? Something about voting? Oh, okay, good. They're ready for whatever scam they're going to try to pull this time. And it was Mike Johnson is going to introduce legislation to end motor voters. That's where the DMV registers you to vote if you tell them to, but they don't check if you're actually a citizen, okay? So Mike Johnson's saying that he's going to put forward legislation to end that, make that illegal on a federal basis, and retroactively pull people off the voter rolls who aren't citizens, who were put on the rolls through motor voter. Well, fine, that's fine. Those are good ideas, right, Peach? Those are good ideas, but it's not going to go anywhere until they have a Republican president, and that does absolutely nothing to help with the upcoming election, which is 2020. So if those two were going to stand there all august and serious and talk about the election and talk about voter integrity, I would hope they'd come forward with a plan about what they're going to do for this election, not some high-minded legislation about what they would notionally do in the future if they ever had power. Go ahead and do that. But unless you fix how the election works, you're never going to get a chance to put anything in place. And you know what? I don't particularly like Donald Trump, but again, as I was saying with Bush, hey, stop it, guys. Bush, Gore, or Bush, Kerry, he's the best available. And again, if both my viewers want, I'll talk about how a second Trump term is going to suck even more than the first. And the first, I know the economy, this and that, but when you're comparing your term to Joe Biden's, once again, everybody looks like, George Washington. I don't know. So, will Trump be prepared? Will the Republican Party, the party of just absolute goobers who never know what time it is, will they be prepared? I actually don't know. Stop it right now. Hey, I'm getting to the denouement. Do you understand? This is the denouement. You want to come up? Come here. Okay. I don't know, but I do know this. You got to be prepared for whatever they're going to pull. We all went through the whole trust the plan thing last time. And they're like, Trump has color-coded the ballots and he's got DNA matching on, so he'll trap them if they try to, and none of that was true. He just didn't understand what was happening. He got rolled. So if he gets rolled again, if he loses again, he deserves to lose. So if anyone asks you, will you accept the results of the election? You reply, absolutely I will.